Hello and welcome to Talk in the Microphone, where we talk about Logan Whitehurst's entire solo discography. I am Conner Nyberg, and I'm an avid Logan Whitehurst fan.
And my name is Owen Otto. And I also like Logan quite a bit, and I used to play in a band with him, and I played on some of his recordings.
That's awesome. And today we're talking about probably his most famous album, and one I've been very excited to talk about, Goodbye My 4-Track, released in 2003.
Sweet.
Now, Owen, there was a 3-year gap between this album and his last album, Earth is Big. Do you care to explain why there was such a long gap between those two?
I don't completely know, but what I know is that he was making the album in 2001, because I know that I recorded my parts, some of the songs I played on then.
Okay.
And I think he was just, my guess is he was just really busy with the Velveteen, that actually was kind of really taking off at this point and doing quite well. Mm-hmm. It's like they were kind of, once they really got going, they were kind of a hit instantaneously. And I think they were even getting like major label interest, and they recorded their debut album. Did that come out in 2002 maybe?
Yeah, Out of the Fierce Parade, that came out in 2002. Yeah,
and they recorded that with Chris Walla from Death Cab for Cutie, who's also produced a bunch of other things. So my guess is he was just, that was kind of his main focus, but I'm pretty sure that he had like most of it or a huge chunk of it done by the end of 2001.
Gotcha. Okay, that explains a lot, because there are, these tracks appear in one form or another, and a lot of them actually appear in a somewhat finished state when he was releasing them on mp3.com in 2000 and 2001. I was just wondering what the year gap was, but the Velveteen did take up a lot of his time, especially in 2002, and so that explains it. Actually, fun fact here, so I was doing some digging. There's a Velveteen Japanese fan site. Apparently the Velveteen were huge in Japan when they came out. You know, they're one of those bands that weren't big much anywhere else except Japan, kind of thing. And there's this fan site. It's entirely in Japanese, and it's still being updated. In fact, the person that moderates the site linked to our first episode of Talk in the Microphone.
Oh, wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, so they've been keeping up to date with this kind of stuff, so I think that's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, the Velveteen's still playing now, and at least somewhat. And I don't know when they've been to Japan within the last 5 years or so. So they still do that, yeah.
They do have a large following there. And Out of the Fierce Parade, anybody who hasn't listened to that album really should. It's a very, very good indie rock album, and it has a song by Logan, A Special Gift to You.
Yeah, and maybe I bet he contributed to other ones too, but I'm not totally
exactly.
sure.
I think from what I heard, it was a band effort kind of thing. And overall, it was just really great, really well polished. Definitely kind of a change of pace for Judah and Logan at that point. And so it's interesting coming back to Goodbye My 4-Track. You get Logan again, except this time it's like just so well produced and so well put together with all these different collaborations and stuff that it really is kind of like the pinnacle of what Logan can do with the Junior Science Club. I love it.
Yeah, definitely. This is the pressure's on this podcast, Connor. Like this is the episode. We need to have our act together.
We need to get our NPR voices on here. Now, Goodbye My 4-Track came out in 2003. And a lot of people know this album because it received fairly regular airplay on the Dr. Demento show. Now, those of you who don't know, Dr. Demento is a California DJ who is most famous for playing comedy music and discovering acts like Weird Al Yankovic, Barnes & Barnes, etc., etc. And he called this album. Now, keep in mind, Dr. Demento, his real name is Barrett Hansen. He has a degree in music theory, or music in general kind of thing. He knows his stuff, basically. And he calls this album, Goodbye My 4-Track, the Sgt. Pepper's of comedy music. That's pretty high praise.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. I mean, and I think that they were actually, later on, this is skipping ahead a bit, but I think that Logan and Dr. Demento talked on the phone pretty regularly.
I think actually Logan performed live on the show. I'm looking for a recording of this. He performed live on the show once, and he actually got Dr. Demento to play Fish in Lizard and Fish. I'm
that's
looking for
genius.
that.
Oh, you need to get a video of that. Yeah.
Anybody that has a recording of that's classic, timeless, priceless. And this was also another important fact is that this album was his first on a record label, Pandaside Records, who also put out several releases by the Velveteen, and I'm assuming that's how he got his solo act on the record label. But this was his first record label release, which is pretty interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I think it is a real record label, but it is also kind of like a small one that I think was. It's weird. The memory, I've forgotten who it was, but it was like a few people in Petaluma ran it. Is my memory.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it might have been a small label, but for Logan, this meant a huge amount of difference. This meant collaborating with people, a higher production value, recording more in the studios, I believe, and it all just comes out on this record. So you want to start it?
I just thought maybe a couple other things worth saying is I think that the album was mostly recorded with Dan Kelly.
Dan Kelly, yeah.
And I think it's all, as far as I know, it's all recorded on the computer, so it's all digital and not the 4-track stuff.
Quick editor's note here. We realized after recording this episode that the majority of this album was in fact recorded onto Logan's 4-track.
And I think they just recorded it in different, like the parts that I recorded, it was actually like at Dan's, like maybe his dad's house or something. So I think it was just in houses, like not in a studio per se.
Okay, yeah, gotcha.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Another thing another thing about the timing of it, I think it came out in fairly early 2003. And It's weird though, like I don't really remember there being any fanfare around it, like a CD release show or anything like that. Just kind of weird.
That is interesting. Yeah, so this was definitely an unorthodox indie release in every aspect, but it still stands on its own to this day.
Indeed. All right, let's do it.
Yeah, alrighty. Track 1, we got A Brief Introduction.
This is a bird.
I love how he's bringing back the animal wheel kind of from Earth is Big, and he's using it as kind of a build-up in anticipation.
Yeah, it's sort of like I think that Logan even in some ways kind of thought of this as like his first album. It was almost like all the other ones were kind of like the practice, like learning it and stuff.
Gotcha,
And so you kind of see like all the tricks from the previous ones, like the best ones are kind of like here.
Mm-hmm. And that makes sense because he did re-record a lot of songs that I think he really enjoyed, and he didn't feel like got a proper arrangement with his first 4 albums.
Yeah.
This is the Junior Science Club.
Out of the sea, snowman and me, or is it me and the snowman? Bringing the sound straight to your town, and now it's time for the showman. Who would ever believe that me and the snowman, we could be best of friends? Given the probabilities, still you see, here comes me and the snowman and me. Maybe you've heard of some other famous acquaintances like Jekyll and Hyde.
Now, Owen, would you like to educate the listeners on to who the Snowman in particular is?
So Logan had this. Wait, what's his name again? I forgot.
You forgot. Vanilla the Plastic
sorry.
Snowman.
He had Vanilla, like, at all his shows. Vanilla the Plastic Snowman.
All of
And-
them, even from the beginning? Like his very first show with opening for Frank Black?
I would guess yes. If not, then very shortly thereafter.
Nice.
Yeah. And so he would always like pretend that he was. Well, no, he wouldn't pretend. He was a member of the band.
No, yeah, he was. Yeah.
God.
What many people don't realize is that the Junior Science Club was all the brainchild of Vanilla the Plastic Snowman. Logan was just a front for Vanilla and his songwriting genius.
Yep. And so he'd maybe like turn on turn on the light inside of this rather large plastic snowman at some point during the show. I have a picture of me with vanilla. I should send it to you.
Oh, nice. Yeah, no, you definitely should. I'm going to put that in here.
But I think this is a... It kind of just like slaps you in the face right at the beginning of the album with like, boom, this is the super well recorded Logan. It's kind of different than all the stuff before.
Yeah.
It's just like a super tight pop song.
Yes.
It's like all the things that he's been learning up to this time are all there, like all the vocal harmonies and all these kinds of things, and just really catchy and lots of clever lyrics. It's got everything.
Yeah, I know. It's like a jingle. It's happy. It's everything Logan-y, and it's tight, which I think is funny. So this album is definitely his most well-produced album. It's definitely his hi-fi moment, which is funny because it's on the top of the album. It's advertised as Inglorious Lo-Fi.
Yeah, it's pretty hi-fi. Yeah,
it is. It's got Chris Walla of Death Cab for Cutie and producer of Out of the Fierce Parade on the guitar. And it's the first track on here with a collaboration.
Yeah, it's a nice like a jangly sort of guitar sound. Yeah, it's kind of I wish I knew, but I feel like he had like all these songs recorded and then he just kind of like found other people to add parts when because I know they were kind of getting in that circle of meeting those guys like Death Cab for Cutie and Pedro the Lion and that sort of thing.
That makes sense. Yeah,
it's really cool that you got them on there.
Definitely. And there exists like alternate versions of some of these tracks where there aren't like the overdubs. For example, track 3, The Volcano Song.
Like normally with a Logan song, you can be kind of like, oh, he's sort of like doing this style. He's wearing this style for this song. And this one, I just don't even know.
I put it under his educational songs, kind of like the Audubon Society and stuff, with talking about volcanoes and tectonic plates and how it all goes.
It's definitely
and it's definitely grooving along with it. That's how I put it. But I think the most impressive feat on this song is the layering. Like, he starts out with that one lyric, T-E-C-T-O-N-I-C, and then he builds on that with some stereophonic lyrics, and it all just builds up onto each other, and it's like, ugh, you're a volcano.
Yeah. It's got the spelling. It's got the spelling thing again that we've talked about before.
It does have the spelling thing, yes, exactly. This also features Elliot Whitehurst, Logan Whitehurst's brother, on the trombone. And this goes back to what I was saying before. There is an alternate version of the song where it's this exact track. Actually, it has a kind of a interesting a cappella intro, and it's this exact track except the trombone's missing, and it's like it just feels so naked. It's like it needs that trombone. Once you hear that trombone, it really deserves to be in there. I love it.
Oh yeah, that's funny. Like he comes from such a musical family. Like I don't know if I said this to you before once, but I was at their house once, like maybe on Christmas Eve or around Christmas, and like his grandma was there, and I think even his grandfather was still alive, and at one point they were just all like the whole family was like singing songs in like 4-part harmony, and like maybe his like uncle would start playing would pick up the harmonica and like play a little solo. It's like, okay, I can see how he can do this because
can I join his family? Can I be?
Yeah, exactly. Like I would be a lot better at music if I grew up in that.
That is funny, and it all works. I love it. The Volcano Song is definitely a Junior Science Club classic.
Yep, it's a goodie.
Gets the gold star.
Gold star.
Speaking of family, this next track is named after Logan's cousin, Aron.
I think maybe around 2001 or so, Logan was writing songs about his siblings and his cousins, and there's a bunch of them. And I've seen, I don't know if they're on the Logan Weiser's archive or not, but recently I was looking at some list of other songs, and I knew all the titles of the other ones about other family members. Like, he played them for me in his car and stuff, and this is one of them that he liked and decided to make like a really good version of.
Yeah, no, that's really interesting. Yeah, no, I'm looking at this list now. When he put up his discography on LoganWriters.com, he also put the unreleased tracks from each album. And here are all the titles of the family members. You got Elliot, Julie Does What Julie Says She'll Do, song for Tess, It Never Rains on Alex, which that's a good one. And he's Eric, hey ladies.
Exactly. And so this is kind of the thing that we've talked about before that you still see coming through, even though he's making like a more pro album, where it's kind of like the songs are, a lot of them are just written for friends and family. Like, and you can tell, like, I can kind of get the joke of this song, but you could tell like it probably makes way more sense to Aron in specific.
Yeah, no, actually, no, I like the whole story behind this song. I mean, the whole, you're doing the right thing for the wrong reason. You save someone's life, and you're like, oh, I'm gonna be rich and famous because I saved your life, and now you owe everything to me because I am the hero here. Damn it.
yeah, it's funny.
And I love it. I love it so much. And Josh Staples from the Velveteen did bass, and that's actually it's a really kick-ass bass line in this. And I love the sample, well, mother told me there would be days like this.
There's also on Me and the Snowman, on this song, it's the first time as far as I know that he played this more like electric organ kind of sound. Huh. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, I got you.
Maybe it's electric piano.
Yeah, it's a really nice keyboard sound. But yeah, no, actually it kind of brings it more tighter. It's not as loose as the tracks used to be. It helps give it like a tight beat.
Yeah.
Because there's no reverb or anything. It's just there. It's very fat. I like it. Up next, track 5, I Love the Ocean.
Sea. He had an eye patch and a meat hook for a hand, and if you asked him why he lived there, he would answer, then you'd understand. I love the ocean. No, I love the ocean.
You know what this really reminds me of? Did you ever go to like a summer camp and you guys would all gather around the campfire and sing a campfire song?
Yeah.
And you all chant it. That's what this reminds me of. I could just see like a bunch of summer kids around a campfire singing "I Love the Ocean."
Yeah, and it builds on sort of the sea shanty kind of thing in some little degree. I will say this is like in my top 3 Logan songs. I really, really like this one.
Yeah.
It's because it has like all these different levels in which it's great. Like, one is that if I'm ever swimming in the ocean, I always think of the song I love the ocean. Nah. It's like it's just like the song of the ocean to me. And I love it's just really funny. I love the storytelling in it. And then those guitars are insane. Like, it's all so out of tune and quick.
It is.
The whole
it
song
just kind of adds to the atmosphere. It does.
Yeah, I think that the whole way that it kind of like goes in and out of key is actually technically hard to pull off and really daring, but yet it's done in a way that's totally catchy.
Mm-hmm. I agree, and I love the part in the middle where the bridge, and he's like, sometimes I go out to the water and the fish gather around and tell me secrets about the future, and it just goes like crazy. Like, there's no key anymore. It's like, and then it comes back, and it comes in with those awesome harmonies, like just really good ones, and it's like, oh my god.
Yeah.
It's just so satisfying to hear that, like, because pop songs usually they do like verse, chorus, bridge, and so that when they go back to the verse or chorus, it makes it more satisfying. This takes it to a whole new level. It like completely derails and then puts you right back on, and it gives you it's just great. I love it.
Yeah, and so it's kind of that sonic experimentation that he was doing before, but now he's got it fitted into this thing that's just totally seamless.
Yes, exactly. And this is track. Also, another important note: there are a lot of transitions. Whereas last album he kind of experimented just a little bit with transitions, this album really tries to seg each track together more so than any other album he's done. So, for example, after the end of Aron, when he says, "If I hadn't grabbed your hand, you'd have washed out to sea," there goes the ocean wave sound effects, and it goes right into "I Love the Ocean." That'll happen so much more. Before I forget, Elliot Whitehurst played electric guitar on this, and Elliot, you did awesome. Thank you.
That was
so
really,
much.
really good, Elliot.
Yes, thank you. And at the end, you've got a sample of a guy saying,
I wish we could have had some musical entertainment tonight, but instead...
Just an ordinary day. Nothing odd about it. Guess somehow you lost your way. You'll get along without it. Someone is standing in the street, but you don't know that it's you. It's a beautiful day. You don't care about the time. Never have to hurry. Ever since you lost your mind. Never need to worry. And all your prior obligations have been canceled for you. And it's a beautiful day. Your brain fell out. See it spinning in the air. Your brain fell out. Now you're falling down the stairs.
This one's a little hard for me to listen to without being affected by knowing that Logan, got brain cancer after this. It's just kind of turns my brain into knots. It's just so crazy. It seems like, I don't know.
and it's very coincidental. Yes, absolutely. But taking that out of the equation, this song is amazing. Like, honestly, I would say this is my second favorite Logan song, right after Saturday 243.
Wow.
Just because this was the song when I was first discovering Logan. I was on his archive, and there was an alternate version of this on the website for free download. And it's practically the same song, except it doesn't have the bell at the beginning, and the harmonies are just a little louder. But I looped this song maybe a dozen times just because it just blew me away. I absolutely love this song. So let's talk about the production a little bit. So this track has a lot of samples, and actually that occurs a lot during this album, especially the kid saying, I think he says like, "Where are my shoes, oi Ivy?" And it just loops and loops and makes kind of like a rhythmic track. And the drums throughout the whole thing, I think, are just a simple beat. And the song structure itself is it's amazing. You got the verse, chorus, verse, and then the dynamics and everything, it just works.
Yeah.
I absolutely love this song. I think it is honestly the highlight of this album for me.
Wow, cool. I think this one is, not that it sounds just like him, but I think it's definitely influenced by Beck. Like, in the use of samples.
Mm-hmm, exactly. And there's a lot more of that on this album, especially on stuff like Please and Thank You. I don't know, it's silly, it's a silly song, but at the same time it works by itself, which I love that when he does it. And he's got the piano on this one, but it's not his usual show-tuney kind of playing style. Like, it's kind of delicate near the beginning, and when the chorus comes in, it just boom, it just hits. Yeah. And adore everything about this song. So Dan Kelly played the electric guitar, and Elliot played the acoustic guitar on this one. And God, it's just love it. I love it. Again, it's really weird considering what happened afterwards, but I mean,
Yeah.
by itself, just as a standalone kind of thing, I love it.
It also has a pretty unique sound. Like it's
exactly.
It's different than his other tracks, and also I think this one is a little bit less obviously imitating some particular thing.
Yeah, and it's got a little melancholy to it, which is it's interesting. Like you can see like stuff in your head on this. It's silly again, but it's got like a tinge of melancholy to it. Just kind of like, you know, you're walking down the road and you're zoning out, and that's okay. It's really weird, but yeah, no, this definitely gets a gold star from me.
So you think it's about this moment when you kind of zone out or something?
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of like, I don't want to say a trip, but I mean like some of the stuff he says, like somebody staring at your shoes, but you don't know that it's you, kind of thing. It's like that moment where you're just kind of like your mind's thinking about other things, and you don't even realize where you are or what you're doing until you're like, oh shoot, what am I doing? What's happening? Like, you ever had a moment where like you're like staring at somebody and you don't even realize it, and they're like, why are you looking at me? And they're like, oh shoot.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
Yeah, so this is like the zoning anthem here.
Okay. Now I want to listen to it again, but okay, I'll do that afterwards.
All right. Track 7 is another classic. I think we all like this one. It's called The Robot Cat.
Better get in my way. I got the package in the mail today. I popped all the bubble wrap, threw it away. Now I'm learning Japanese so I can read what the instructions say.
新宿駅はどれですか？広島行きの口を1枚ください。
There was a bag of nuts and bolts and screws. It didn't say which screwdriver to use. I don't know what the radiation warnings.
What are your thoughts, Owen?
I'm a pretty big fan. I mean, it's definitely it's probably the most like danceable song he has. It's a rocker, a rap rocker. It has like the story is really catchy and evolves. You know, different things happen throughout.
Exactly. Yeah.
And honestly, I'm surprised that this song isn't like known internationally.
I am too, honestly. This is a really, really funny and just catchy track. It's hilarious. Now, you did play on this song, though, so you do have a little bit of a bias there. But I really like that riff. I really do. In fact, I think you have a video on your personal YouTube channel where you show how to play that riff.
I do. Yeah, it's funny. I think that this, you know, even though this song's not as popular as I think it should be, I think like sort of ironically it might be the most well-known song I've ever played on. Which is funny because this was just like a half hour of my time or something.
Oh, nice.
Like, I think we were at, Logan and I were at this place that used to be in Petaluma called Deaf Dog Coffee that we would go to all the time. And they actually had a bumper sticker that said, friends don't let friends go to Starbucks. And we were there, and Logan was, oh, hey, I have this idea for this song that's about a robot cat. Do you want to come back to my house and play on it? So he went there, and I think he just had the beat. Mm-hmm. And he just told me he wanted it to be like a big fuzzy guitar sound. I think I was just kind of messing around for like, I don't know, 20 minutes or something, while he worked on like the lyrics or something in the other room, and he came back and he was like, oh yeah, that's good. And then we just recorded it. It was like super easy.
That is awesome, because that is a kick-ass riff. I'm not gonna lie, I love it. And the whole song. So the robot cat, wasn't that a I don't know if that was the username or whatever of Alice and Naomi, who I believe he was seeing at the time.
Oh, I don't know. Maybe that's after the fact.
I think she had a character called Robot Cat because I think he wrote a book for her using the Robot Cat back in '01 or something. That's where I believe that the Robot Cat originated from. That was one of her things.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't know. All I knew is that he just told me that he had this awesome song idea, and I think by the time I finished recording it with him, he didn't record the lyrics or anything then.
Yeah.
And so I maybe heard it a week later and I was like, whoa, okay, that's really good. And then I think that this is the original recording. I don't think they re-recorded it it wasn't re-recorded for the album.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Now, there is a rough backing track, and I'm digging deep here. So, do you recall Logan did some music for Matlock Zumsteg's skit show, It's the Show?
Yes.
So there's a skit that he did called 32 Flavors, or Hot Ass Ice Cream. It has a flavor of ice cream called Hot Ass. And it has, I think it's from, it might have been '01 or '02. And it's the backing track to Robot Cat, except it is very different as far as like drum machine goes, drum samples and stuff. It's almost like, it sounds like he didn't even know what to do with it yet, but I believe your guitar riff's on there, so I don't know. I'll have to send that to you and let you check it out.
Well, I know that this was all recorded. I'm 90% sure that I recorded this with him and the whole song was written in early 2001.
Gotcha. All right, yeah.
Yeah, and he might have messed with it before this. He might have modified it for this album, but it was basically the same in the first half of 2001.
Gotcha, that makes sense. Before we move on, I gotta point out there's that freaking we got the spelling theme again with ROBOTCAT.
Yeah.
And then you got the Japanese theme again. You got the Japanese instructions, and you got the samples of people speaking in Japanese, and it's kind of like a flashback to Tokyo Narita. And I'm still curious, where's this Japanese stuff coming from?
I don't know, but I wonder if it's just from playing Nintendo games or something. Couldn't tell you.
All right, interesting. Well, we go from that awesome track to an equally awesome track. It's the third incarnation, and the best incarnation, in my opinion, of Happy Noodle versus Sad Noodle.
Noodle led the sort of life the working stiff dreams about. Driving a Studebaker, making pies with his wife, taking a dip in the old swimming hole. Yes, sir, Happy Noodle had it good and he wasn't complaining. He always waved and smiled and tipped his hat and said, "Nice weather we're having," regardless of the weather. Nice weather we're having. Now, as most protagonists do, he had an antagonist, a polar opposite, bent on nullifying his happy existence. His name was Sad Noodle, a pathetic excuse for an egg and flour mixture with a little extra water just for tears. He worked in a successful firm and was under a lot of stress, and this is the story of their ultimate battle. Happy Noodle versus Sad Noodle. 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 One day, as Happy Noodle was out mowing the lawn with a smile and a song.
I like that a lot. I really do. That's an awesome version of the track. And personally, I think if you listen to the backing track without the guitar, which you added by the way, it sounds almost exactly the same as the other versions. But with that wah-wah guitar coming in every once in a while, and the power chords in the chorus, it adds a whole new dimension to the song that you didn't even realize it needed until then. So thank you, Owen.
Oh, happy to be of service. Yeah, I think that I think the Robot Cat we recorded the other day, but then I think I played on 2 or 3 other songs on this that we'll get to, but it was all done in one day.
Oh, dang.
At Dan's Dan Kelly's, like, I think his dad's house, like somewhere in Sonoma County.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was super fun, and it was I think Logan picked, I don't know if this was this, but he picked like all the songs, or he picked several of the older songs that I really liked to have you play on, so it was fun.
Oh, that's awesome. All right, Owen, do you want to give a technical explanation of the Happy Noodle versus Sad Noodle rhythm to the people at home?
Yes, I do. So I think when we talked about this song on one of the previous albums, I was referencing others as kind of like rhythm trick in it that makes it really catchy. But then recently I sat there and actually like thought through what it is that makes it, what that rhythm trick is. So I thought it'd be fun to explain it. So basically I think what Logan's doing here is, if you think of the like sort of cliche rock beat from, say, We Will Rock You, that goes like doom doom ch, doom doom ch, doom doom ch. And so it kind of sets up this thing in your mind where when it goes doom doom, you're like, it's gotta go ch right after that. Or Nirvana's like Heart-Shaped Box, where it goes, you know, doom doom, hey, doom doom, wait.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah.
That kind of thing. So what Logan's doing in this, and I definitely think he like actually like purposely thought it through, that he was kind of like playing this little game, is that the backup music does that rhythm. You know, it goes like dum dum, dum dum, dum dum, dum dum. But then in the singing, he defies your expectations. Like on the first time, the happy goes at the same time as that beat, so it's like happy noodle. Then the noodle comes after it. It's like, huh? And then the second time it goes like doom doom, happy noodle. So where the happy and the noodle like move around between the two times. So it's kind of like, it sounds like it's going to be this familiar cliche, but then it's just kind of slightly off. And I think it does this kind of usually like when things are kind of almost like what you expect but a little bit different, it makes them really catchy.
That works. Definitely works in this case. Well, thank you, Owen. That was actually really really helpful with that one. That's interesting.
Let me know if you want any more music theory. I can tell you about tritones or.
Oh yeah. Oh, we got to get to that later.
But I still think, and more generally, to me, Happy Noodle is like one of the Logan top masterpieces.
Oh yeah. Absolutely, it really is, and I think he knew that too, which is why here he is 5 years later, and he's still working out new things with this song, and that blows me away.
Yep.
All right, and from Happy Noodle versus Sad Noodle, we get to the poor ice cream man.
Scary.
It really is. I believe that if this song wasn't on the album, this album really could do well as like a children's kind of album. Like kids could listen to this growing up if it weren't for this freaking track. This track.
Yeah, it is weird. It's funny, but it is actually kind of scary.
Logan's got to get that like schizophrenic track in there somehow. You know, he had Big Ed's body. He had that whole lot. He's got to get it in one.
Yeah.
There's a version of this that he released in 2000 on mp3.com, and it's a very different recording. No rhythm track at all, so it makes it even like a little bit more eerie. Without that drum machine there, it's like even weirder. And the only sound effects are that of like gunshots.
Oh.
And so it's like,
Yeah.
So it's like the instrumentation kind of adds more silliness to the song, I feel.
Yeah.
Or at least more insanity.
Does the original one still have that kind of Danny Elfman flavor to it?
Maybe even more so, just because there's no drumming. It's just it's very mellow and very eerie without that drum machine.
Yep. But it's fine. I mean, we've talked about before, like both like the Danny Elfman theme and stuff like that.
Yeah,
but also that he does kind of, for such a nice, really mellow guy, he does usually have like a few songs that are about like murder, basically.
Yes. Yeah. That makes me a little worried about Logan there.
Yeah.
What secrets is he hiding? What is he trying to tell us? If you reverse the ice cream man, what is he trying to say? All right, and then you go straight from the ice cream man to a song about one of his family members. How you doing, Emily?
Hey, this next record is what our party is all about.
Every time you tie your shoes, every time you put on your hat, every time you wash your face, it matters. Every time you simply go outside, it means a very great deal. How you doing, Emily? But you know that the things you do make a difference to the world. How you doing, Emily? Put your hands together and we'll make the world a better place.
It must be nice to have your brother write a song for you.
I bet, yeah. I kind of wish my name was Emily, because this is such a very nice song.
Yeah.
So Emily, for those of you who don't know, is Logan's sister, Emily Whitehurst, also known as Agent M. She's been in such bands as Tsunami Bomb, The Action Design, and Survival Guide. And here he's got a song for Emily, and it's one of those family songs we were talking about, and he decided this one was good enough for the album. In fact, I like how he starts it out with that sample of saying, like, this next record is what our party's all about.
Yeah. It's maybe the most like up song on the album.
Exactly, yeah. And following the ice cream man, you can only go up from there.
You definitely need that, yeah.
A little booster. So this track's got a couple of people from Pedro the Lion, David Bazan and Casey Faubert, and they play the organ and guitar. And so,
have you listened to Pedro the Lion?
I haven't, no.
Okay, I actually like one of their albums that's called Control, that I don't know if it was out around this time or not, but that's a good one. But like, it's just a really, if I was kind of like, oh, I got this song, like How You Doing, Emily, like Pedro the Lion are the last people that I would think of to play on this song. Like, it's just a really, really non-intuitive choice. So that's really funny.
And maybe that's why he did it. Maybe he did it just because, like, who are the last people I think would play on this song? Oh, okay. But they pull it off. It just comes off as just a really, like, a good feel-good song. And
yeah, there's some kind of 70s pop about it or something. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. And it's silly. Especially, you can tell he's having fun making it, especially during the breakdown and such. It's all fun. And then we have track 11, a obligatory word from Farkle.
How many times has this happened to you? Well, that's great, because the creators of I Can't Believe It's Not and George Forehead's Lean Meat Fat Grilling Exploding Toaster present Farkle! It's new, classic, original, improved, sanitized for your protection. You've never seen anyone like it. Call now! Never mind, we'll call you.
Hello?
Tired of those annoying phone calls?
What the?
Farkle! Sweaty palms? Nausea? Farkle! And remember, nothing says love like the gift of Farkle. Just listen. Farkle is guaranteed.
I love how he builds it up. He builds up this commercial with a sample from the It's the Show theme song, and he goes straight back into the da, 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 da. It's just the same thing he's always done.
I know. Yeah, it's a funny Farkle though. I just laughed out loud,
it is.
even though I've heard it like 50 times.
Yeah, man, Farkle's like it's the never-ending barrel for Logan to find out all these new ideas. And this Farkle's also got a few friends on it. You got Matlock Zumsteg with the First Time I Bought Farkle testimony. Albrock Peters, whose song What I Ain't Got had been covered on Earth is Big, saying the infamous I have 4 pounds of Farkle in my mouth right now. And then Scott Gruber, a.k.a. Toasterhead of MP3.com, with the divorce and eviction testimony.
Yeah, it's a good Farkle. I like it.
It is. And I especially like the ending when it says, see you on side 2, little buckaroos. And recently, some guys with a record label called Needle Juice Records just repressed this album with the help of Kickstarter backers, including myself and Owen. And
We're such
for the
nerds.
cassette, I know. And they did a cassette version of this, and they made sure of making sure that this song was the end of side 1. And so that side 2 would start with the next track, which is Please and Thank You. I really like this track. It's like it's kind of like it is like an intermission between like smack dab in the middle of this album between what you heard the first half and what you're going to hear in the second half. And it's a nice jam. It's like what you were saying about the Beck beat, and this is it's entirely instrumental.
Yeah, it's got some sounds in it that I don't know how they're made. Like I can't tell what's a sample and it's interesting.
Yeah, it is interesting. I know Justin Pinkerton, aka DJ Eradicator, did turntables for this track, and after a little bit of research, the quote I love, the "to attack without knowing the enemy's strength is foolish" quote, is from a Chinese movie called One-Armed Swordsman from 1967. Apparently, it's been used in a couple like hip hop songs.
Never heard of it.
Yeah, neither have I.
But there's like is it a dialogue there, or is it just different samples going against each other?
The "to attack" that's all one quote. That's all one quote from this movie, from like a scene in the movie where there's the Asian guy. And he's just saying this one monologue.
I see. Cool. Yeah, it's a fun little ditty.
Yeah, and again, it has a perfect transition with the slowing down "please" and "thank you, please" into "thank you for do the confusion."
Thank you. Can I get you something from the kitchen? Some cake, perhaps some coffee?
Sounds good to me.
See how you like this rifle barrel over your head. Oh! And now I'm getting out of this crummy joint once and for all.
All the windows, you can padlock your door. You can paint over the mirror in the bathroom to be sure. You can try to disguise the booby prize from the spies and flies and the prying eyes that follow you wherever you go. You can lose them at the corner, you can fall down the stairs. You can race out of the back door, up the fire escape to the open air. When you hit the ground, you can go downtown in a gown you found at the dog pound, around a hound who drowned because its owners didn't care. Or you can do the confusion till your head falls off. Gown you found at the dog pound. Do the confusion till your head falls off. Your head falls off.
Dude, what's with your head falling off, Logan? Come on. That was pretty dancey as well, actually.
That was, yeah, I was about to say that. This is like a nice dance track. I would boogie on the dance floor to this.
Yeah.
So this one is also very sample heavy, and there are especially several moments where it sounds like samples, but it's really just Logan dialoguing his different characters, like the beginning scene. I'm pretty sure that's all Logan.
Are you serious?
I'm pretty sure. I've looked up the quotes from that before, and I'm pretty sure that's just Logan doing his Sid Sheinberg voice.
Oh, so like do you find if you're looking up if you type in the phrase of a sample that it comes up?
Yeah.
If it is.
Yeah. Usually it pops up. I don't think I found anything with that one. I think "See how you like this rifle barrel over your head" is a pretty unique quote.
That's really funny. I totally believed that was like from a movie or something, and I was thinking.
I know because it's like what he did with the Farkle on The Earth Is Big. Remember, he was playing around with the EQs of stuff to make it sound like it was from different sources. I think that's what he was doing there. Of course, it might be completely wrong, and it might be from a movie, but I'm pretty sure, about 90% sure, that's Logan.
Interesting. Yeah, he has like the gangster thing come up a lot.
I know.
There that is again right there. Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. And Judah did bass on this one. I love the drum sample, and yeah, Do the Confusion is actually really catchy beat. I like it.
Yeah, it's a catchy one. Something about it even reminds me of Groove is in the Heart.
Oh my god, yeah.
Do you know that? How they
in the heart.
Yeah. The way they do samples and stuff. There's something similar to that in this. It's got like that sound and stuff like that.
That is funny. That I like that. That's good. Oh, now I won't hear the song without thinking of that. Thank you, Owen. All right. And that was Do the Confusion, and it transitions pretty well with a gunshot into Welcome Back, Mr. Pants.
Hello. I am Mr. Pants. Let me give you some advice. Don't eat yourself up like a cookie. It sucks.
Welcome back now, Mr. Pants. Welcome back now, Mr. Pants. What did you see while you were gone? We heard nothing from you for a decade or two. We built you a tribute out on your front lawn. Have a sandwich, Mr. Pants. Have a sandwich, Mr. Pants. Tell us why you were away. Now that everyone's here and they're bending an ear in anticipation of what you will say.
My followers are fans.
Does the Macintosh still have that voice that's at the beginning?
It does, actually. It's called Fred. If you go to System Preferences, I checked this out. Go to System Preferences. I believe it's under Accessibility. And, there's like a text-to-speech feature, and the name of it's Fred, and it's still in there.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I mean,
you can make your own Mr. Pants at home, kids.
It's funny. I don't remember it coming up in any other songs we talked about, but I remember Logan playing around with this a lot and like making a bunch of different things with that voice.
I think, from what I can tell, because I think Logan was heavy into Radiohead for a while, and they have that song "Fit or Happier" with this voice, where it's saying a series of quotes and stuff about, just a bunch of stuff Tom York wrote about, like a bunch of depressing stuff. But it's just one track. It's kind of instrumental, and it's got this voice over it. And I think that's where he got the idea for this.
I think he was probably doing that stuff like before that, just because like if you give someone like Logan text to speech, like he's gonna do it.
Yeah.
But it's actually really funny how Logan would see something like that and be like, "Oh, think of all the great jokes I could make," and like Tom York is like, "Think about how depressing I could make this." Logan's thinking it's so funny the computer's going to talk and sound weird, and Tom York's thinking like the computers are taking over and think how bleak this is.
That is true. That is so true. That's funny. I didn't even think of it like that. But you're right. You're absolutely right. This song is the weirdest track on this album, I gotta say. Listening to it again, listening to the lyrics, it's like there's a story behind it that's kind of like, it's weird. So from what I gather, Mr. Pants is a cult leader, and he's returned to tell his followers about how he got invaded by aliens and turned into a cookie along with his friends, and they give him a cookie to eat before they go, and that cookie is his friend.
Whoa, I never listened that closely to hear the story. I just thought it was like wacky insanity.
Yeah, it's weird, but I mean, there's a story behind it, and I was trying to figure out, like, what the fuck? This is so weird. I was like, what? Okay. Because, like, so he's saying that we climb into a saucer, we return into cookies and eat them with some tea, and then his followers are like, hallelujah, have some cookies and some tea. And then he's like, hey, this cookie looks familiar. I'm like, oh, wait, what?
Oh my god.
This is the weirdest track probably ever.
Wow.
Probably ever. Because there's some story behind it that I still don't even understand completely.
Huh, that's funny. I think just with the title having Mr. Pants in it, I just sort of was like, oh yeah, it's just silliness.
It's just silliness.
Which isn't, it sounds like it is just silliness, but it's insane silliness.
Exactly. It's like some absurd storyline that makes no sense. And maybe there is, maybe it's not an inside joke. Maybe it is just absurd to be absurd. I don't know, but welcome back,
like
Mr. Pants. Welcome back, Mr. Pants. And then there's a baby Logan transition into lizard and fish.
I think that song was wonderful.
But it wasn't.
Oh, hello there, baby Logan.
How about let's sing songs?
Yes, let's sing another song. What shall we sing about?
The lizard.
A lizard. And what else?
I'm thinking what else. Ooh, a fish.
Lizard and fish, oh what a pair. One lived underwater and the other breathed air. On a shelf in a pet store on aisle 13, lizard and fish would sit together and dream. And lizard said, fish, how's the water today? And fish said, and lizard said, somehow we'll both get away and be a refugee, lizard and fish.
It's different from the original, which was on How Does an Electrostatic Motor Work, in that it's more, whereas the first one was, I think it was just keyboard sounds. This one is actually, I think it's completely real instruments. There's like no samples, 0 samples, and it gives it kind of a homey feel that kind of resonates well with the song, I think.
Yeah, it's good. This is definitely one of the Logan classics, as we've talked about before. I'm glad he decided to do this one on there.
Yeah, I am glad it got the revamp it deserved, and you're on this track as well, playing the guitar.
You know what? I was just about to ask you. I literally don't know if I played this on there. I was like, sorry, Connor, did I play on this? That's really funny.
Yeah, no, actually, what you said before was a good point. The songs that you play on, Accepting the Robot Cat, are all the all remakes of older songs of his.
Yeah, I mean, he told me what songs he wanted me to play on. I feel like maybe on this one I have a vague memory of talking about this one and maybe me suggesting it. But in general, he was like, "Oh, I want you to play on some songs," and he just told me which ones they were. But maybe just because he kind of wrote them when we lived together or something, he just thought it would work.
Yeah, I guess.
But yeah, I mean, the guitar in this one, like the other ones I played on, I feel like, oh, there's like some. This one, it's just kind of strumming the chords, but it adds a little bit.
Yeah, it does. Again, it gives it kind of that, like a full band feel. Like you feel like it's like a jazz band. And then there's a nice kind of drummy transition at the end because he kind of snares out and then snares back into "I Want to Live on the Moon."
I want to live on the moon. I want to live in a plastic dome. I want to climb on a rock and be like Mr. Spock, but without having pointy ears. I want to live on the moon. I want to call it my home sweet home. I want to chuckle and laugh, cause you can't hear me laugh, cause there isn't an atmosphere. I want to slide down the side of a crater
good one. It's not
Yeah.
I wouldn't call it a Logan classic, but it's definitely it's a nice short ditty about wanting to live on the moon.
It has some interesting arrangement. Like, who played guitar on this one?
Casey Faubert from Pedro the Lion.
Oh yeah, just some cool little tricky things there in the second verse. What I noticed on this one is that he did this kind of radio mic effect on his voice at the beginning.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out how or why he did that. That's with all the verses, and then in the chorus it goes to straight like microphone, no effect. Because it sounds like in the verses, it sounds like he's like in a small room with a cell phone microphone, and the cell phone's like on the other end of the room from him. It's weird.
Yeah, I think maybe it gives it this little effect of being like on the moon, far away, like kind of reporting from a distance or something. And then also
Maybe.
when the chorus comes in, it sounds huge.
Again, yeah.
Because if you make things like really artificial in the verse, then the chorus sounds really big, which I think
That's
is nice.
true, yeah. Yeah, and I think the guitar adds something as well. There's an alternate version of this that exists without the guitar, and I think the guitar, again, I think it adds something to it.
Yeah, is this a much older song, or?
I don't know how much older it is, but I'm assuming I think all the alternate versions were released between like 2000 and 2001 on MP3.com, so I'm assuming it's an older one that he got Casey to overdub the guitar on.
Yeah, I feel like I'd heard this one before, but it sounds like maybe it was re-recorded with Dan Kelly or something, because like some of the things sound pretty big.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
And I like the return of the robot cat here. It's a good little callback there.
Yeah, he does that kind of thing that it reminds me of the Beatles, like in Glass Onion or something, where they name check their own song. It makes you feel like you're like in the world of Logan Whitehurst or something.
Exactly. It's the world of the Junior Science Club.
Indeed.
And then it goes on from a moon-related song to another moon-related song, When Werewolves Collide.
To lovers, the moon is a thing of beauty. But to this man it is a deadly curse. When the moon is full, this miserable wretch turns into a hairy, snarling half-man, half-beast. He prowls the night, thirsty for human blood. He is a werewolf.
Coincidence, hardly empirical evidence. Demonstrate precisely by way of experiment to determine properties. Energies potentially waiting inside. When werewolves collide.
I feel like this is Logan at his peak Danny Elfman-esque.
Yes, definitely. I agree with you there, 100%. This song, I like the dramatic arrangement and stuff, but I'm still trying to figure out the meaning behind it. Is it like you got two werewolves that collide, I guess, and they're trying to figure out what it is?
Yeah, I can't fully remember it, but I feel like this one was one of those like mishearing a phrase things.
Yeah.
The title comes from that.
Interesting.
Is there a phrase like when something collides? What is that?
When two worlds collide, I guess.
Two worlds collide. There's no way you could mishear that and think they said werewolves.
Werewolves.
I
don't know. It might be something like that, but it is very Danny Elfman-esque. I just did a quick lookup. I believe the quote from the beginning is from a British horror film called The Curse of the Werewolf. I think where Logan's getting these is that they've been sampled before on other hip hop albums. I don't know if he heard it from there and he decided to sample those kind of bits and pieces, or I don't know. I don't know how often Logan listened to hip hop, so.
I don't really remember him listening to much hip hop, so it's a little surprising, but
interesting.
Yeah, it seems like he wanted this album to, like, almost like the underlying theme of it is that it's stitched together with all these samples. Do you know who played guitar on this song?
Mike Griffin. Do you know who Mike Griffin is?
I think Mike Griffin's in Tsunami Bomb.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. That makes sense.
Yeah, this one, something about it sounds really well recorded.
Yeah, no, I think, I don't know, because listening to, like, the instruments and stuff, it sounds like the typical kind of drum machine, synth layering. I think it's just the dramatic feel of the song that really kind of brings it all together, especially, like, the timpani sound effects. I like that.
Yeah. Oh, I remembered what I was going to say before. I think might be, it feels like what he was going for, maybe with this album and all the samples, is that he wanted it to feel a little bit like one of those like children's records. He wanted it to have the feeling of one of those children's records that you listen to where it's like, and now turn the page and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And has that thing about flipping the side over that's like the most obvious reference to that. But
Yeah.
but it kind of has those throughout, and it just gives it this kind of like storybook feel a little bit.
It does, yeah. Again, I mean, I feel like if you took out the Ice Cream Man, this would be like a quintessential like children's album. And I mean that in the best of ways. I really feel like this could have been a really good children's music album.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah. So I mean, it works on both levels, but except the Ice Cream Man.
Yes. It's that damn Ice Cream Man. You ruined it all. Because, I mean, with Logan and this kind of music, he's shown that he can write serious. He's done that. He's done the experiments on Earth is Big. He's done experimenting now. Now he's kind of found his niche, and he's sticking with it. And it's like silly, kind of Sesame Street-esque without being overly educational, except on songs like Volcano Song. And it's he found what's worked, and now this album is him magnifying it by 100. And that's why it just works so well, because it's song after song of the same kind of style. And he deviates a little bit every once in a while, like the Ice Cream Man or Your Brain Fell Out even. But it all stays on kind of the same straight and narrow path. At least that's what I think.
Yeah, I mean, he still does a range of different genres and things.
Yeah, exactly.
But they're like all ones that are totally in his wheelhouse.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And basically, it's just him strengthening those muscles, those musical muscles.
Yeah.
And it's just really good.
And he now has like connections to a lot of more musicians,
exactly.
And he's super confident at recording and knowing what he wants, and so yeah.
So this is him at probably at his peak, and it's awesome. I love this album so much. Track 18, that's what we're on. Track 18. It's an odd track. I think it kind of sticks out among all these. It's a minute and a half long. It's called Steve.
Ray. Sure. Ray. Sure. Ray. Sure. Fantastic. My name is Steve. My name is Steve. Hi, how are you? My name is Steve. Fantastic.
I love that sample in the middle. I'm from Oregon, and I know something about trees.
The beginning of it sounded almost like a more palatable version of Bubba's Throat.
Kind of. That this song, I think it's the track that sounds most like it would belong on Earth is Big or Electrostatic Motor, just because it's Logan by himself at a keyboard, and he's just playing with this idea of my name is Steve. Hi, how are you?
Yeah, it's more of a little experimental interlude, I guess.
Yeah, I guess that's appropriate for it. It's kind of like an interlude. And, I mean, what more can you say about this track than, hi, how are you? My name is Steve.
I wonder what particular Steve he was thinking of.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking of. Does he have a family member named Steve? Was this one of his family members that he came up with?
Yeah, Steve Buscemi? I don't know.
Oh, it better be. Steve Buscemi. That's all I'm going to think about now with this song. It's going to be Steve Buscemi. Oh, boy. All right, then we go from Steve Buscemi to At the Wig Store.
My friends are all on TV, but they don't talk about me. Even when David Letterman says to say hi to the people at home. But I suppose it's okay. I go to work anyway. You see, I have to get paid to get food I can eat when I'm sitting at home. On company time at the Wig Store. La 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 la. On company time at the Wig Store. La 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 la. I walk around the display.
So this is an interesting track in that it's kind of it's a duet basically, kind of, except a one person kind of duet. It's the same character, but it has his sister Emily on backing vocals, kind of backing up what Logan's singing about the horrors, the woes of a man that works at a rug shop.
Did he write down what the story was behind this song anywhere that you know?
No, I couldn't find anything. The way I've been finding out the stories for the last tracks were they're all in the Logan Whitehurst Music Archive, and the guy that set that up, Jason Steele, he copied, I believe, the descriptions from the mp3.com page, and that's how he did the backup stories. With this one, I don't know. I think it's I take it at face value. It's about a guy working at a wig store, and he's not too happy with his job. Not too happy.
I think what sucks is I don't fully remember the story, but I know that I used to know it. And I think it's about a real person who I think is a female who worked at a wig store and did this. And I'm wondering if that's why he decided to have his sister sing on it, to have that like female voice maybe. But
that is interesting, because this is the one and only time that kind of happens, so it makes it stand out in the album.
Yeah. But so it seems like it's about someone who's doing a bunch of like personal stuff on their work time.
Yeah. They're basically killing time at the wig store.
Yeah. But it has also a different sound. Like it's like the music sort of sounds like reggae influenced or something.
Yeah. It reminds me of kind of like The Tide Is High by Blondie. It reminds me of that kind of except this one's a little faster. But I mean, I get what you're saying about the kind of tropical feel.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good feel. I like it.
Yeah. It's got Judah on guitar and bass. And again, this is one where you can tell that they're all just kind of having fun with making this track.
Yeah.
Up next, we have another remake. Track 20, Prosthetic Brain.
I could be a politician, roll my socks up and go fishing, put my money in a box and bury it forever. I could be a television, turn me on while you are fishing, listen to the weatherman and learn about the weather. Prosthetic brain, running backwards in the rain like a train, going back to where it came from, empty now and lighter than it once was, a fine analogy. I could be a mastodon.
I feel really, really bad that my favorite songs on the album both have brain in the title. I really, really wish that wasn't so, but god damn, this is a good song.
Yeah, this one is, to me, this is the peak. If this is the peak Logan album, this is like the peak Logan song and recording.
Yeah, no, I got you. I agree there wholeheartedly, which I think is why he put it like right near the end as like the second to last track on this album. I think that was a really good placement on his part. But again, it's kind of like the lizard and fish effect, where you listen to the first version on electrostatic motor, and it's the reverse drum track, and you got the keyboards and the hoo, and I mean it seems basic enough, and then you got a version like this where it's fully realized with actual instruments, and you play guitar on this again, and he even adds lyrics to this one. The bridge was just, "This is my synaptic artificiality you see." In this version, he adds, "provided by the Ace Prosthetic Brain Replacement Company." And I think that was a really smart choice on his behalf. I don't know, I feel like listening to the bridge and having it like repeat once more is kind of satisfying in a way, and it makes it even better when it does go back to the verse chorus.
Yeah, this was really fun when we recorded it too, because I remember just like playing lots of different parts and him kind of being like, oh, okay, let's do that one, and it was really easy and fun. There's a part in it that you can barely hear. During that, this is my synaptic artificiality. It has like a lot of chord changes.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, and it was really like on the guitar. I was like, oh my god, I gotta figure out all these things. But there is like a picking part that you can barely hear in there that does like all of these transitions between the chords. That's really super complicated. It's sort of like one of those things where if you took it out, you'd probably notice that it sounded emptier, but you don't really hear it.
Gotcha. I'll have to re-listen to that. That's funny. But yeah, no, what you were saying, I think one time I actually tried picking out this song on the piano, and like the verse is easy enough, you know, you got the basic 1-4 chords, and then I get to the bridge and I'm like, what the crap is this?
Yeah, the bridge is nuts.
I'm doing it's like I do the chords and I figure it out and then I instantly forget because there's like no pattern. It's like it shouldn't work. It shouldn't work, but it does. I'm like, god dang it.
Good. Prosthetic Brain, to me, it has like the lyrical content is interesting and has some really cool ideas in it. It's got like, you know, even when we talked about on the previous album, he already had all these different vocal parts. But when you hear it in the high fidelity with all those vocal parts, it's even more amazing.
Exactly. And what I like about these tracks, especially like the ones that sound more live like this in Lizard and Fish, is that you have instruments, but it seems like before Logan was trying to give each instrument equal amount of attention, like they were all kind of at one dynamic. But with these kind of tracks, especially like we'll go back to Your Brain Fell Out, they're there, but they come in most when they're needed. So like using Your Brain Fell as an example, so you got the piano kind of coming in at the second half of the first verse, and you hear the pretty arpeggios, and it's nice, but it kind of goes back into the background, and then the chorus comes in, and he starts banging on it as giving it more of a just loud feeling. And I think he's really mastered that on this album. Each instrument comes in when it's necessary, and even though it might be playing throughout the whole song, you hear it when it's needed.
Oh, I see. So
that makes sense.
It's less like normally you write a song. Let's say you write the song on guitar.
Yeah.
The finished product kind of sounds like, oh, they wrote that on guitar. Like the guitar is kind of the main, and this one it's kind of all sort of architected throughout.
You got the mallets, which is the main riff, and then you hear your electric guitar come in during the chorus, and even the background vocals. I love the woo woo, but on the first version they're as loud as the lead vocals. Here they're more in the background with the instrumentation. It's one of those things where you listen to it enough and you're like, oh, I hear the woos.
Yeah, maybe it's partly just from recording on a computer and having an engineer to help and all that kind of stuff.
I do think that collaboration really helped Logan on this project.
Yeah.
All right, well, we're at the final track, and this is the track of which the album gets its name from. Goodbye, My 4-Track.
Goodbye, my 4-track. Goodbye, microphones. No more songs about noodles and fish. No more references to telephones. So, goodbye, my 4-track. Goodbye, everyone. It's been fun, but I gotta run, so goodbye.
It's a fitting closer to an amazing album.
Yeah, no, I have to agree. It's interesting listening to it this time around with us talking so much about the tracks and like laughing along with them. It's kind of like it's kind of more sad closer than anything. It's like it makes you like, oh shoot, it's over. And listening to, I mean, you can kind of picture like a show tuney kind of exit. Like it's the end of a musical, and you got Logan, and he's putting on his suit and tie, and he's about to leave Mr. Rogers style, and he's singing this little song before he leaves.
Yeah. The one of the things that stands out to me in this song is that little kind of like monologue that he has in the middle.
Yeah.
About like, you know, shut up, you baby head. You can't control everything and stuff. And it's funny to me because it sort of comes off as a joke in the thing, but I think he was actually quite serious in what he's saying there.
I think so too.
I think this is actually kind of his almost like a life philosophy about. And I don't know if I can. He did explain it to me once. I remember about something like when he was having some like romantic heartbreak or something. But he kind of had this view of sort of, the best way I can put it is like not wallowing in your pain or self-pity, and kind of, it's almost like a stoic sort of thing where you sort of just be like, well, you know, I can't control everything, and so maybe that didn't go my way, but you know, yeah, it sucks, and we're gonna move on. This is the best I can kind of do. But it was almost like, I think like Happy Noodle versus Sad Noodle is almost the same kind of thing.
Yeah.
So like he's a pretty he was like a pretty mentally healthy person, and you know, not prone to doing, I guess, like the Morrissey or Tom York kind of thing.
Yeah. Excepting a couple of schizophrenic songs, he was pretty happy dude.
Maybe that's how he got his aggression out, is like fantasizing about killing Ice Cream Man.
Maybe that's what he did. But I mean, it worked because I mean that's how he did it, and he got over it, and then now he's making songs like When Werewolves Collide and At the Wig Store kind of thing. And he seemed very, from listening to his music, he seemed very down to earth, very. His head was in the clouds, but his feet were on the ground, kind of thing. Like he realized the people around him, and he used it as kind of inspiration, directly or indirectly, as a source of his music. And what you were saying about the monologue, going back to him leaving Mr. Rogers style, I can see it's almost like he's breaking the fourth wall. Like he's been in character this whole time, playing out these little skits, and now here he is, he's talking directly to the audience just before he leaves. He's like, I'm leaving you with this last one bit, and then I'm out of here. Yep. Yeah, and I think that leaves a really big impression. I like it, and it's a perfect closing to I dare say a nearly perfect album. I really do. I mean, how many albums do you know that have 21 tracks, and each track is amazing, and each track is even more amazing than the other, and it builds up to this grand, almost dramatic kind of production. Yeah, so many good songs, and they also kind of fit together as a whole. And there's all these things that time together, like we were saying, this sort of like children's theme. Yeah. Yes, exactly. And this is the result of the years he did experimenting on stuff like Outsmart and the Popos, Biggest Octopus. This is what it's all led up to. This is it. This is the Junior Science Club album. And this is, again, like what you said, you sound like he felt like this was his first album. And I would agree with you there. I really would. This is, like, I felt like listening to this first and going back and hearing his stuff, those first four albums sound more like demos of his experiments and stuff. And this is his first proper release, Goodbye My 4-track, which is funny because when you pick it up, you think Goodbye My 4-track, and it's like, you don't quite get it, and it's an inside joke with himself. Yeah, that makes sense. I think yeah, a second, I have to remember what I was going to say. Oh yeah, I think that the sort of lesson of creativity that I extract from this, I don't know if I've ever actually done it, but it's cool to see. It's like, don't sit there and try to kind of, if you're going to take the Logan approach, I would say a key to it is don't sit there and try to craft the perfect thing. Yeah. It's just kind of just make a lot of things, and then you'll just keep getting better at making things. Absolutely, yeah. No, that's I heard a story. So Mr. Rogers, he wrote all his own music, and apparently he took music theory, and he went up to his pastor. I might be getting the story wrong here, but he went up to his pastor and he wrote a couple songs. He was like, "Hi, I wrote a couple songs," and his pastor looked over them and was like, "These are pretty good. Now come back when you have a barrel full, and then you'll really write something good." And that's kind of, this is the visual representation of that, or audible representation of that. You got Logan making all these different songs, experiments and stuff, and here he's grabbing the best from the barrel. Yep. and you get Goodbye My 4-track. And so, yeah, I said last time I thought Earth is Big was his best album, and I'd have to remember listening back to this. But yeah, no, definitely. Goodbye My 4-track is rightly considered the magnum opus of Logan.
Even I, Connor, will have to concede this one beats I Would Be the Biggest Octopus. It's
now,
definitely
don't
the
get me
best
wrong.
song.
Yeah, Biggest Octopus does have its charm. It does have its lo-fi charm. But as far as album-wise goes, and as far as all that goes, this kind of fits into his theories perfectly.
Yeah, it's definitely it's super consistent, and as we've been saying, it's like the culmination of all this stuff.
Exactly. All right, well, that was Goodbye My 4-track. Thank you all for listening, and be sure to tune in next week when we talk about very tiny songs.
Goodbye!
Haha, April Fools. We're just kidding ya. There's one more track on this album. It's technically a hidden track, but it is a revamp of a popular Logan song called Monkeys Are Bad People.
And so are you.
Daddy! Yes, son.
I'm hungry.
Well, what would you like to eat, son?
Can I have a banana?
A what?
A banana.
We don't have any bananas, son.
Well, why not, Daddy?
Why not, Daddy?
And the dad is just so calm, and he's like, oh, well, it's so well lit, sanitized, bacteria-free home. You have a monkey in your backpack. He's like, it's like it's the bipolar father, and he's in a return with his son, who is just so confused.
Yeah, I'm glad that he did this one so we could hear more of his voices.
Yeah, exactly. And it's a continuation. It's like Monkeys Are Bad People too. Except it's even better than the first one. Kind of like, Terminator 2 or Addams Family Values. This is like the sequel that's better than the original. I love that.
Yeah. Why do you think he decided to make it more of a hidden track?
Well, listening to the album in the context that we've been talking about, I really like thinking of this kind of as like the encore track. Like, he's finished the stage and you got the people applauding, like, encore, encore. So he comes back on and he does this one last song on the piano with himself, Monkeys Are Bad People.
I see.
Now, this one was recorded in 2001. I believe it's actually even part of the track title, Monkeys Are Bad People 2001. And it's show Toonie Logan all the way, 100%. And personally, I do enjoy this one better than the first one. Whereas the first one did have more of an arrangement to it. This one, it has, the sketches are a little funnier. I like the sketches, especially in between talking and stuff. And you can just you can visualize it. You can see the father and son at the piano playing this jazzy standard of how horrible monkeys are. And it's so good.
So it has the radio play thing is better in this one, you think?
I do. I think so. That's why I personally like it. So it's like, it's interesting because like with other songs that he's rearranged on this album, he makes it better kind of by adding something extra to it, like guitar or real drums or a number of things. But with this one, he makes it better by taking away all of that and just keeping the piano.
Oh, I see. And
it's kind of an inversion of what he's been doing with this album.
Yeah, and you think that's kind of part of that he wanted to have this encore effect, that it needs to be kind of stripped down.
Yeah, I think so, and I liked it. I liked it a lot. I can just see it. That's the best part about this. You can visualize these songs. I mean, there's some of them like Prosthetic Brain, where I have like a music video in my head of like different things flowing as it goes. And this one is so down to earth. You can just see the father and son. Hey, I love it. I love it so much.
Yeah, that's really cool. Do you know if this is the one that Dr. Demento plays, or maybe he played both of them?
I don't know, actually. I know the first one got very popular on Dr. Demento. I'm sure he played this one at least once or twice as well. There was something else about this track. Oh, yeah. What sucks is if you go on iTunes and you look up Monkeys or you look up the Goodbye My 4-track album, this track's not on it. They took out this hidden track completely. So when I downloaded this from iTunes, I had no idea what the track listings all meant when it said it had another track. And I actually had to go on Groove Shark. You remember Groove Shark was kind of like streaming pre-Spotify kind of thing?
Yeah.
I had to find this album on Groove Shark, and using QuickTime, I recorded it, and I added it to this album on my iTunes. I think that's still the version I have.
Oh, so were you listening to this album for like years before you ever even knew it had the other track?
Yeah, at least one or two. And I was like, wait a minute, what is this? So it's interesting listening to this album with and without this hidden track. Personally, I think it adds to it, which is funny because we were talking about how it's the perfect ending. Goodbye My 4-track's perfect, but I do think Monkeys Are Bad People makes a perfect encore track. And especially the ending, and then the most incredible thing happened in the history of the world, and then it just dies.
Yeah. By the way, like thinking about the album as a whole, it's really weird to me, as I mentioned before, that it seemed like it just came out with no fanfare, or as far as I remember, kind of nothing. I know I looked online a little bit, and it sounded like there was like a show in Portland or something like that. But if anyone listens to this and remembers anything that happened when it came out, it'd be interesting to know. But I don't know. It feels like maybe, I mean, certainly it wasn't that long after this album came out that I think Logan started getting sick and this sort of thing. So that's probably like part of why it didn't get maybe he couldn't promote it to the degree that it deserves. But overall, I'm still a little surprised because it's so good and has so many tracks that kind of could work in a lot of, even in like, like probably like TV shows or things that it seems like they would have. Yeah.
And I think that was something that he was kind of going for as well, right? Because he kept experimenting with instrumental stuff and whatnot. And I believe in 2006 when he got better, he scored a short film called Replica. And so I think he was trying to get more into that kind of field, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, I think he just would have wanted to do like every creative field, like actually, I think one of his original things that he wanted to do was like work for Lucasfilm or something, like doing special effects or like making models, and like he was really into like the Star Wars kind of art and how those things were made. Gotcha.
Yeah, no, Logan was 100% nerd, but I love it.
Yep. So definitely, in summary, as we said before, probably the best Logan album. I'm glad that people decided to reissue it. That means like some people have realized how amazing it is. But like I would not be surprised if at some point in the future this album suddenly became way more popular.
Yeah, no, I think it definitely deserves a lot more hype than it gets. And again, this is the album that like inspired people that I looked up to, like Jason Steele of Film Cow, who made the Charlie the Unicorn animation, or Neil Cicierega, who did Lemon Demon, The Ultimate Showdown of Ultimate Destiny, Potter Puppet Pals. The list goes on because he's an internet legend. They were just among the few of hundreds online that listened to and really connected with this album. And I find that very thought just amazing, that this album inspired so many people, a couple people that I really love their work, that this was kind of the source of their creativity. So I think that's really inspiring.
Yeah, that's really exciting. I mean, I think if you make stuff, you can't really control if it's going to be popular or not, and you can't really control if that's going to sort of like, you don't even know if that's going to mean anything to you if it is. But I think if you sort of make something that a few people who really love music say that they really love it, inspires them to do any other stuff, like that's kind of like the pinnacle that you can reach in my mind.
Yeah, no, I agree with you wholeheartedly, and I think with this album, again, Logan hit that goal mark. So, all right, so for real, this is the end of the episode. Thank you guys for listening. Next time we will be talking about Very Tiny Songs, the final release by Logan Whitehurst and the Junior Science Club.
Cool. See you next time.
Bye-bye. My 4-track.
And then occurred one of the most incredible events in the history of the world.